How do you build visibility for a small business?
An ability to get small publishers featured in huge publications.
A very simple email newsletter that connects journalists with sources. We saw an opportunity to revive it, talking with customers and figuring out what their pain points are. HARO had lost a lot of trust on both sides.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Brett Farmiloe, CEO of Featured.com, formerly Turkle, and now the newly acquired HARO. And I can't wait to dive into this episode. So welcome to the show, Brett.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris.
Okay, why don't you start by just doing a brief intro, and then if you could just give us a bit of insight into your journey from Turkle to Featured and then now to HARO.
Sure. Yeah. Going all the way back, this has been pretty much a 17-year journey for me. So coming out of college, I took a road trip across the United States in an RV, interviewing people about their career paths, documented their stories on a career education website for people to turn to. We traveled 16,000 miles, 38 states, interviewed 300 people in an RV. And the thing that I learned about it is that everyone needs a meaningful outlet to share their expertise. Almost 20 years ago, 17 years ago or whatever. And so that's kind of at the core of what we're doing today with Featured.com, with HARO. We're asking people questions that pertain to their expertise and giving them a meaningful outlet to share their knowledge. And the reward for that is getting featured in the media and sharing their expertise so that it's useful and helpful for reporters and for ultimately readers. So, that's kind of the backstory. I also ran a marketing agency for 10 years and serviced more than 500 small businesses. Had no intention to start a digital marketing company, but got it to rank on page 1 of Google for the term digital marketing company. And then people all over the world started calling, asking me about the company. It was me and my dog, and decided to actually, scale it. So I sold that at the end of 2021 and to focus on Turkle, now Featured, and now HARO full time. And so, basically we founded it within our agency and scaled a SaaS where the biggest problem was, how do you build visibility for a small business? They don't have the resources. They don't have the knowledge of how to get featured in the media, but they have an abundance of knowledge and expertise to share. So how do you share it? And so now you've got a couple really cool places to do that with Featured.com and with Help a Reporter Out.
That's awesome. Impressive ranking for digital marketing agency?
Digital marketing company. And then there was a couple other ones after that we got there, but that was the one that put us on the map. We were there for like 5-6 years, all the way until I sold it. SEO, it's like the coolest thing ever when it works, because it's like the most scalable, predictable way to run a business. Like, we knew that we would always get 2 to 3 new clients every month. It was searched, I think it was like 3,200 times per month. We calculated the click rates. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, that consistent.
I'm an accountant too. I'm an auditor, and I majored in accounting. So data, numbers, I geek out on it.
You like steady numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's really nice as well for you, the way that you've articulated the service that you offer is a way to get small businesses to have that ability to be featured in the press. And then obviously all of the added advantages that come with that. So before we dive into that and what you're building and the continuation of what you're building from an existing platform, HARO, it's been around for about 15 years. Peter Shankman launched it. He's now left, was sold, Sission, and then he started his own new thing. But HARO it was something that I built the back of our business off. I also couldn't believe that there was an ability to get a small publisher in somewhere like the New York Times. That was the first link I personally won for my personal finance website. And then to have that as a platform and an ability to get small publishers featured in huge publications is just amazing. And that was HARO, but obviously HARO's been through like a tricky journey. So could you talk to that a little bit, and then why you decided to pick it up?
Yeah. Just the history of it, you mentioned, I think it was founded in 2008, sold in 2010, and Sission ran it for 14 years until in April 24 decided to rebrand it to Connectively. Connectively was discontinued in December And here we are, April something, late April, and we've revived it. So here it is, day 4. And what we've done with Help a Reporter Out is we've revived it back to its original format, which is just a very simple email newsletter that connects journalists with sources. Essentially what happens is a journalist will submit a query through helpareporter.com. That'll go into an email newsletter depending on their deadline. That newsletter is identical, gets sent out to hundreds of thousands of different sources. And then basically people can look and see if they qualify for any of those queries or if they know somebody. And that's like been the coolest thing this week, man, is just seeing the HARO community come alive. So many people have appreciated that email back in their inboxes, and we're seeing it forwarded nonstop. It's like, because someone will get this email and they'll be like, oh, I know the perfect person for this query, and they'll forward it on to a friend, to help a reporter out. So it's been really, really cool.
When that first one came, I think it was the Tuesday, was it? Tuesday this week, the 22nd. Oh, I tell you what, it was like nostalgia and like a welcome back. It just felt like, I think many of the people that utilize HARO as part of their business, either for themselves or for their clients, I think it's a really wonderful thing for you to have done. And yeah, there has been a lot of buzz across social. So just for my audience that doesn't know, which I can't imagine there would be a lot, HARO is sort of the de facto term, I'd say, because it is so ubiquitous with this sort of engagement with the press for inbound PR requests from journalists. And you mentioned that they went over to Connectively and then they shut it down. Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I think that there's probably a variety of reasons. For us, we saw an opportunity to revive it. We saw an absence and a nostalgia in the marketplace, mainly because, look, I've been running feature.com for the last 3.5 years, and I don't think a week has gone by ever where I've been on a call, I've been talking to somebody about what we do, and they get this nostalgic look in their eye and be like, what was that thing? Like, I'm like, help reporter out. They're like, yeah, that thing, HARO. So I think that, for us, is an opportunity, and I severely underestimated the enthusiasm that we would experience in bringing it back. It's been overwhelming this week. I think it's probably one of the most interesting and rewarding weeks of my entire professional life, just to be in the inbox, hundreds of thousands of people, not hundreds of thousands of emails inbound, but like a lot of emails that are coming in, and people who are giving us feedback. We're iterating on the fly. That's what, as a founder, that's what I enjoy the most, is talking with customers and figuring out what their pain points are. So, for us, it's day 4 of bringing it back. We're so early in this. The very first goal of this was just to revive HARO and its original format, which was sending out an email newsletter. Our anticipation was to send out 1 email a day. In day 1, we decided we already needed to send out 2 a day because of the demand from a journalist side of things to get connected with sources. So eventually we'll scale it to 3 emails a day. And then we've got, some different plans after that further connect journalists with sources.
Okay, that's awesome. So so the original sort of format was thrice daily, wasn't it? Monday to Friday. I noticed we were 1 for the first couple of days and up to 2 pretty quickly. So that's nice to see. And it seems to be a lot more well curated, if I could say that. So I think one of the issues that we would see as a user, obviously you want to protect the journalist. It's a complicated product because you've got 2 sides to the equation. You've got the journalists and the people pitching, the sources and the experts. And as HARO became unloved, I think towards the latter point, it became exploited by, I'd say, both sides of the operation. So it'd be AI spam bots pitching, but also you'd see sort of 3-way link exchange scams being operated by people sourcing. And I'm seeing like no filler or killer in terms of the quality of the publication sources. So how are you handling that?
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because, I think that was one of the things we were most concerned about in doing our due diligence about this. We saw that HARO had lost a lot of trust on both sides, and, goal 1 for us is restoring that trust. So, one of the inspirations for me coming on podcast, talking to SEO community, because anything that you read, everyone always points at the SEOs. Oh, the link builders, they're the ones that destroy it all. Like, I think that there's an eagerness, not all link builders are malicious, but there's certainly an eagerness because, you want to grow your business, you want to get your clients placed, things like that. So for us, that's like priority number 1 is managing what's happening on both sides of the marketplace to ensure the quality, because without quality, this doesn't work. Like, HARO gets shut down again and goes away forever if we don't maintain quality. So on the journalist side, when a query comes in, we're manually reviewing every single request. And we're manually approving each one. We're scheduling that out. And I think that's a really healthy thing, because for every HARO request that's been approved, there's probably been over 5 that have been denied. So we're seeing a really, really high demand in terms of publishers who want to use the platform to get connected with sources. And at the same time, you mentioned about like how we're protecting reporters. Like, we don't put their email out there. We have a masked email that goes through a filtration system that allows us to essentially monitor activity and detect any kind of abnormal activity, and for us to look into that further. We've also equipped the new HARO with community reporting tools, so that if a reporter does receive a response that's not helpful, they're able to report that to us. And we're able to look further into that and, take a pretty heavy hand in terms of being able to say, hey, this service is no longer accessible to you if you manipulate it, if you abuse it, things like that. Because, one of the things that I enjoy about HARO is the business model. It's a free service for both sides. It's fully supported by newsletter ads. And that allows us to have a lot more of influence in terms of how we control the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Obviously, there's been quite a bit, funnily enough, actually, at the sort of around the exact time of your launch, or certainly the build up to the launch. I won't name anything specifically, but there was quite a big newspaper article that came out where a number of tier 1 publications, over a number of years, had been featuring and quoting like fake profiles, so like completely
I'll throw the publication out there because I thought it was great work. It was Press Gazette. They put out an amazing report that went in depth, 2-week investigative journalism, and ironically, the timing of this, I had not seen the article. I had pitched the Press Gazette about the return of HARO, and they're like, I don't know if you've seen this article yet. I think it's really a great piece of work that they put out there, and I think it's inspirational, because ultimately when you look at it, there's a shared responsibility between the sources who are pitching. There's a shared responsibility between the journalists who need to essentially verify the sources. But then there's also like the environment where a journalist is expected to do a heck of a lot more with a heck of a lot less. And so you need a platform like ours to take a shared responsibility on this, to make sure that these connections are authentic, that they're real, that there's not AI bots that are manipulating it. So we've got our work cut out for us. Like I said, it's day 4, but this is the top priority for us, is to really crack down to make sure that it's a helpful connection.
And it'll probably be an ongoing fight, I imagine, won't it? Just as one side does one thing which is better, the other side
always 2 steps ahead, man. It's always thinking ahead, and I think that it's helpful that for us, we've got a 3.5-year head start in terms of running featured.com and seeing a lot of the activities and behaviors and all types of stuff that we've seen, that we've had to take action on. So that gives us some preparation to tackle property like Help a Reporter Out. And in addition, like just having ran an SEO agency and having been under the gun where you've got to deliver some sort of goal to a client, to get paid and fulfill, the contractual obligations that you've promised to keep them as a client. Like, I've thought in those different ways. And so like knowing how potentially I would act if you got the black hat on for a second, and being able to predict what those behaviors could be, there's a lot of challenges that we've got, and we're definitely not going to be perfect, but email by email, day by day, we look to get a little bit better.
That's cool. That's great. One question that I've got, I think it's great that you're doing such a fantastic job on the curation of the queries that we're seeing to protect the sources, because there's nothing worse than spending time on a pitch to just get an email back. This was happening just towards the sort of the latter years of HARO. An email would come back and say, hey, this pitch is great. I'm happy to feature you in this article if you'll give me a link from this article. So just absolute garbage, nonsense. We do a load of internal blacklisting on like publications and journalists as well. But in terms of sources, so we do a lot of teaching. So how to do well on platforms like HARO. And one of the big things that we do is make it like so easy for journalists to verify you. You've got to be on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn's got to reflect your credentials, the website that you're representing. You should have the website and the business name on the LinkedIn, and you should have a wide web visibility of the actual skills and credentials that you've got in relation to the pitch that you're pitching. Just make it impossible for the journalist not to just instantly get trust. However, many of the sources will be, let's say, small business owners. They may be utilizing tools like AI, let's say, as many of us are, in the way that we maybe use Mac Whisper to take dictation and then just tidy up. So I want to know, should small publishers be scared about pitching? Are they going to get banned instantly if the query is asking for, let's say, a dietitian, and they're a very well-esteemed food blogger that doesn't have that specific skill? Like, where's the line being drawn? How are you guys handling that?
Yeah, I think that the mentality that we have is, if a response does not help a reporter out, it's a response that's not helpful and likely shouldn't be sent. So, we're not the judge of that. I think that the reporters who use our service are the judge, and ultimately we're looking for them to help send us signals so that we could be better informed and better police the community. But, for anyone who's looking to craft a good pitch, it's like, if you see the query and immediately start writing, or, you don't have to turn to Google search. You don't have to turn to AI to figure out what the right angle is and all of this stuff. Like, you immediately it comes out of your years of experience and expertise. That's the right query for you. So then if you're using AI to refine it, polish it, make it sound a little bit better, that you've just, shared off the cusp what you think the response should be, I think that's a good use case of it. What's not a good use case is, like, you've set up some sort of automation that references your AI. You've got some sort of custom knowledge base that automatically responds to every single query. That'll get you banned pretty quick.
Okay, that's good to know, because those guys are out there still flogging this crap.
We've seen it every day this week, and every day this week, I think it's been huge wins for our team to be able to just press the block button. So it's been great.
And I actually think, I've said this a few times, I think it's I truly believe it's a golden era for this sort of, I say link building because that's the way that we position it. However, I think any good PR agency worth their salt will know, or should know, publications like linking policies. And there's no harm in asking for a link if you win the coverage, if you're not sure of the publication's policy. And if they say they won't link, then you say that's fine. We're even seeing now, from an SEO perspective, an LLM perspective, that unlinked brand mentions are becoming increasingly more important. So I think that all of that goes hand in hand for agencies or other people individually pitching. It really is a golden era because of how easy it is to stand out when you do everything correctly, like you just said. If a well-crafted pitch can be put together because of the expertise and the knowledge, and it could be sent in a timely fashion, not via some crazy AI-backed automation, then it will stand out in the journalist inbox.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a lot of different things that are influencing and shaping what we're looking at in 2025. I think that you have a lot of, freelance journalists that don't necessarily have any kind of influence on the linking policy. So if you do get placed, that journalist has probably already moved on and it sits with the editor in some publications. So that's what's happening. I do think, to your point about unlinked mentions, I'm here in Scottsdale, Arizona, where Waymos have been driving independently for 7 years. And so, like, if they could self-drive cars all around where I'm at, they could definitely, look at unlinked mentions and figure out how that should rank in a search engine. So I've always been a proponent that if you're, sharing your expertise, if you're earning placements, linked or not, it's valuable to your site and to your brand. So yeah, I do think that. And then also the other point that I was going to make here is that in the rise of AI, it's just risen the bar in terms of what's helpful in terms of information. And I think that people, especially around like Google's, EEAT, like, people are really important. Having a digital signature to every piece of, answer that you've submitted to a reporter, every pitch that you've submitted, that's what's really important within stories, because readers need to be able to trust the information that's being displayed, and people trust people. And so if you're featuring different sources to verify the information that you're putting in there, that requires additional work on the publication or the journalist's behalf. And so I think that platforms like ours make it really, really easy for journalists to access sources, and at the same time for your voice to be heard, so that you could rise above AI and create an interesting story.
So somebody that's listening to this podcast today, that's the first time that, let's say, that they've heard of HARO, they're intrigued to get started, they're an independent small publisher, let's say, how would you advise for them to get themselves set up in terms of their public visibility and displaying their credentials to be trusted to use your newly launched HARO service?
Yeah, it's really, really simple. So basically you go to helpreporter.com, you put in an email address to sign up, you start to get the emails. There'll be a verification email that comes through, verify yourself, and then start looking for pitches and start replying to the ones that matter. And so I think that that's plain and simple. That's how you could just get going. It's a really, really simple service. I'd also say that, for anyone who's looking to expand their service, you could go to featured.com as well, sign up for a free account. You could submit up to 3 answers a month at no cost. You could also set up alerts, which is a really great service for us, because currently HARO does not have alerts. We don't have filters. We don't have categories. You basically just have to take this 3 times a day email and make do with it. So we'll eventually put that stuff in there. But, for now, I think that featured.com is a great filter too.
Okay. That's cool. And we see obviously 2 sides to the digital PR coin, as it were. We do both as an agency, outbound and inbound. But I think there is the quality that is available in terms of inbound. So looking for these requests, featured, which is slightly different in the sense that I think it aggregates comments for or expert commentary for the freelance writer that's producing the article. So it still fits in that same bracket. Why do you think the quality is so high on that inbound side, as opposed to creating campaigns and taking the story to the journalist?
Why do I think that the quality is so high in terms of the publications that are using the service? I don't know. I'm new to the job. I think that, we're 4 days in, and that's been one of the most mind-blowing things is we've literally flipped the switch on this website. And funny story, I'll finish that thought and I'll go to the funny story. We flipped the switch and we've seen so many different publications around the world, from USA Today to Wall Street Journal to you name it, have submitted queries to get connected. So the problem that we're addressing is that sourcing experts and expertise is an infinite problem. No matter what the story that you're working on, sources are hard to find. And so this is a really easy way to surface that. The funny story that I was going to mention is that we announced that HARO was coming back on April 15th. It was a Tuesday. And we were sitting in our office on Friday afternoon. And we're we wonder if we should, test out whether or not this website will go live and get propagated and, make sure that the launch goes smooth. So it's Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we flipped the switch on the Helper Reporter and it's live probably for 3 minutes. And we had 20 new signups. And we're what? How are people even finding this site? It's been vacant for over a year. And within 3 minutes, all types of different signups. We had to shut it down and then, launch it when we when we announced it. But that's the type of pent up demand that's behind the brand. It's like you mentioned, it's a word that doesn't describe a website or a company or an email newsletter. It describes the practice of connecting, and that's what HARO is about. It's about connecting. Feature.com has always been about sharing expertise and getting featured in articles. And there's very little connection that happens between the journalist and the source. It's about a publication being able to get free, high quality content and asking a question and be able to get a bunch of answers from vetted experts and display that in an article. HARO is about a connection. It's going to be about making a pitch. The journalist, if they're interested, is going to respond. You're going to then go back and forth with the journalist, and then boom, the article's live, maybe even that day. So I think that's the difference between the two platforms is it's about connection versus just about, sharing your knowledge and getting featured.
Yeah. And I think as well, it's the sort of longevity of HARO will, because of that connection and the benefits to the sources and the journalists. So we've got real estate clients, let's say that, we pitched something 3 years ago to a journalist from a local area, let's say in America. And now they're being continually used as sources for their regional news outlets because they're now connected to that journalist. They're a verified expert. That journalist always wants commentary. And so the benefits are just ongoing. I also think it's really interesting that obviously when Connectively died, we did see a migration of many of the big publications sourcing from, the other available platforms. Some just disappeared. And within 3 days of the HARO launch, I've seen at least 5 or 6 publications that I haven't seen source anywhere since Connectively died and now HARO's back. So I think that's really
awesome.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
There's a ton of really, really crazy stories that have surfaced this week. We've seen people on the source side who, when HARO went away, they shut their PR firm down. They're like, look, I don't even want to try. And so now that we're back in the inboxes, we're seeing a lot of new businesses that are starting to spring back up. We're seeing people who, to your point, when they rebranded over to a platform, they're like, that's too much. I don't want to go sign up for a platform and then sign in and monitor. HARO's perfect because it just comes to me. It's simple. I reply when I want to. So there's something to be said about simplicity.
Yeah, 100%. Brett, this has been awesome. As we just come towards the end of this episode, any future plans for HARO from how we see it now? You did mention maybe alerts, but for now, do you think we'll just see the thrice day emails in the same guise that we're seeing it?
Yeah, just to probably illustrate the roadmap a little bit, I think that goal one is bring back HARO in its original form, 3 times a day email. I think next is we're hearing, bring back filters, bring back, I just want to subscribe to an individual category. I don't want everything. I want to have keyword alerts. I want to have, some customization so that it's just not so noisy in the inbox, which I think is beneficial for everyone, because if we can have really engaged sources and only request their insights when it's needed, that's an important email to receive. And so I think that, we need to reduce the noise in the inbox and personalize it a little bit. So that's definitely something that is top of mind for us. And then anything that just falls under the realm of connecting journalists with sources, I think is fair game for us to tackle in the space. So I think that that's what to expect. It's going to be a really, really exciting year for the industry. I think the industry is so excited to have it back. My inbox has been wild. Like I said, it's been probably the most rewarding, craziest year of my professional life, just judging by the excitement that the industry's had. And also, some of the haters too. I love to see the hate. It's good because the haters surface what we need to fix. We're not going to be perfect from day one. Email by email, day by day, we'll get better.
Yeah. Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It was a big sort of part of my life when we started. We adapted when it went, but it really is great to have it back. Final thought. If you do bring the filtering and whatnot back on the back end, will you improve the UI from the previous HARO dashboard? I don't know if you remember it. It was almost unusable.
I do remember it. Yeah, I do remember it. I'm having flashbacks from 10 years ago. We'll see. I'm sure we'll try to update the UI for 2025. But, for anyone who's interested, the call to action here would be to go to helpreporter.com. Go ahead, input your email, sign up, start to receive these emails. If you're a publisher that's looking to get connected with sources, you could submit a query and be featured in this email newsletter. And then also check out featured.com, sign up, answer 3 questions. There's different publications that are on Featured that are different from HARO. So between the two, hopefully that helps you share your expertise.
That's awesome. And Brett, if anyone wants to track you down or find you, where can they?
Yeah, just send me an email, brett@featured.com.
Okay, that's awesome. Brett, thank you so much. Maybe we'll have you again in 12 months and we'll see how the landscape looks then.
We'll see where we're at.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And that wraps up this episode of Market Movers, Building Brands and Links with Linkify. Big thanks to our parent company, Linkify, the wizards behind turning ambitious businesses into standout brands. Hit up our website at linkify.io and take the first steps towards brand greatness. Big shout out to Fame for making this podcast possible. Thanks for listening, folks. Stick around for more insights in our next episode. Catch you later.